up, YouTube? This is That PlayStation Gamer. Today we are doing our yearly in such year review. So basically what we do is we go over the three major console makers and ask ourselves what were the good, what were the bad, and honestly just at the end of the day, who did slightly worse or who did slightly better than the others. And I think I'm going to start obviously with the one I've am closely associated with, and that of course is PlayStation. I think PlayStation, of the three console holders, while not having a great year by no stretch of the imagination, where they having a quote unquote great year, but I do think for the most part they kind of held the line. So one of the first things I want to talk about is just price increase. That is something that all these console makers are going to have in common. They all increase the prices. It could be because of tariffs, could be resources to make certain parts, all that stuff. I'm not going to hold it against Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo that they have to, alter the plans in case, these tariffs actually do affect them. But the problem is, most of the time, it's greed. It's really greed. And I will give Sony a round of applause for not raising it so many times. Here in the United States, I don't know about other countries. I don't live in other countries. I know that they did raise prices in other countries as well, but it also seemed like it was kind of like they raised the prices one time. Meanwhile, at the same time, you have Microsoft, which we'll get into Microsoft when we do the Xbox video, because, oh god, that's going to have a lot to say. But I think, as far as the price increase goes, I'm not happy about it. I'm not going to sit here and defend it. I think Sony should have actually, lowered the price and actually made the consoles, if anything, more affordable. And they would have made up, for the lack of quality in sales for the bulk of sales. But then again, I am going to point this out here just because I do think it needs to be pointed out. I think Sony, of the big three, was also the one who was putting out the most regular sales. Remember, they had their Days of Play sale where they took I think it was $50 off, and they just had their Black Friday sale and Cyber Monday sale where they took $100 off. So while they didn't take the price off the base price, the sale price, if I'm trying to be fair, if I'm trying to be, unbiased as possible, I think that's better than doing nothing, which you saw from the other companies. Also, I gotta give them some fucking round of applause for actually making their games a little bit more affordable. Now, granted, Ghost of Yotei just came out, so obviously it being on sale was not gonna happen. But Death Stranding 2, a game that did come out earlier this year, a first-party PlayStation title, because Sony helped publish that game, guess what? That was on sale for Black Friday. Meanwhile, you see over at Nintendo and Microsoft, I'm not so sure about the Microsoft sale, to be fair. But with Nintendo, man, they just did not give a shit. I'm just going to say that right now. I think that's one thing that you could give Sony some praise for, is that they were a little bit more pro-consumer in the sense that they frequently put their console and games on sale. But the next thing also we have to talk about is the games. Oh my god. This year we had, count them guys, two pseudo exclusives. Because, with the way Sony currently does their plans, these games inevitably are coming to PC at some point. So I don't really call them quote unquote exclusive. I use that console exclusive term because technically that is what they're going to be. But at the same time, this year they also published on Xbox for the first time. And it was Helldivers 2, a game that honestly kind of makes sense being a multi-plat game. But of course, the two big games they released this year that weren't re-releases were Death Stranding 2 on the Beach and Ghost of Yotei. Now, I know with Ghost of Yotei, there is this whole mountain of criticism of it being woke, propaganda, all that stuff. I don't want to address that stuff, so I won't. Just at the end of the day, if that's a deal breaker for you, I don't know what to tell you. But I think Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yotei are fine games. I think They're nothing that's going to there's nothing that's groundbreaking, but they work. They're fine for what they are. And I would say they are high quality. I would say Ghost of Yote is a fantastic pseudo sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. I call it a pseudo exclusive just because it doesn't actually take place even in the same time period as Jin Sakai, or even has the same main character. So it's like, it's more part of the Ghost of series that, well, going into a bit of a spoiler, that is a kind of a reference to Jin Sakai in the game. So, like, to me, Ghost of Yote, it's a fine game. It plays fine. The story's actually pretty damn good. Kind of does the whole revenge story a little bit better than The Last of Us Part 2, if you ask me. And overall, I'm excited to see what the multiplayer portion of this game is going to be, because I think a lot of people actually forgot about that this game, Ghost of Yote, is going to have a multiplayer element to it that is going to be similar to what we got with Ghost of Tsushima Legends mode. So I'm curious how that's going to play out. Now, Death Stranding 2. Now, counting Death Stranding 2 as an exclusive is kind of weird. I know at some point we're going to see it come to PC. It seems inevitable. But Kojima actually owns the IP now, and apparently he bought the IP at mid-development of this game. So it's not really underneath the Sony umbrella, but because this game did have financial help from Sony, and it does play the PlayStation Studios logo at the beginning, I technically count it as an exclusive. Technically, no, not as an exclusive, as a first-party game. So, Death Stranding 2, what did I think of it? I played it. I'm going to tell you right now, I think it's fucking awesome. I don't think it's the best thing ever. I do think it definitely has some improvements to make, but overall, I think it's better than Death Stranding 1, and that's what I wanted. The story was actually more comprehensive this time, too, and I really like the cast in this game. Like, even Kojima is like one of those few people that I swear, he gets like the weirdest people for his projects, but they work for those projects. And Norman Reedus, of course, yet again playing as Sam, does a great job. Everyone in this cast does a fantastic job. The only one I feel like maybe was kind of free in his performance, ironically enough, was Norman Reedus. But who knows? Like, overall, I think the side characters were much better than the main character you're playing as. But still, even the main character you play as still got some pretty good freaking lines and still has some great performances when the time called for it. So, yeah, I would say Death Stranding 2 was fine. I think it was a game that I enjoy playing. I still play to this day. I'm still playing occasionally here, just doing some quick deliveries because, you know, why the hell not? I swear, it's kind of like my DoorDash. Like, oh, if I do this real quick, I'll get some resources and I'll go do that mission later on. So, yeah, that's Death Stranding 2. Technically, Sony also published or helped publish a couple other games. I know they helped publish Lost Soul Society. That's part of their China Hero project. Technically, that's not a PlayStation, exclusive, because I'm pretty sure that came to PC as well, the same date. So it's like, kind of exclusive, kind of not, kind of first party, but kind of not. It's like, it's one of those things, like, technically, it was a publishing deal, which that's fine, that's like, whatever. And of course, they announced their mobile games. I have no thoughts on these whatsoever. At the end of the day, these are things that I have zero interest in. Not because they're mobile games, but because, to be honest, I think they kind of look low budget. The only one, between the Horizon Steel Frontier and the Ratchet & Clank one, I would have any interest in is Ratchet & Clank, and that's just because I'm a bit of a Ratchet & Clank mark here. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, as far as adaptations go, they had 2 adaptations coming out. One of the... what do I want to say about The Last of Us Season 2? Watch my review. And remember, I am a diehard Last of Us fan. Bluntly admit this any time of the day. I tried to find the good in Season 2. I don't think Season 2 was all bad. I don't think it was garbage, as some people say. But it was definitely a disappointment. That's for damn sure. It was definitely a disappointment. and watch my review on it. Twisted Metal Season 2. This came out, and honestly, this was what I wanted Season 1 to be, but I get it. Season 1 was the setup, and now here's the payoff. And guess what? It's fantastic. It's exactly what it should have been from the beginning. And what I really like about Season 2 is they obviously are leaving us more of mystery with Calypso and his whole thing. And just everything about Season 2 is just what I wanted. It's what the show should be. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's gory. It's violent. It's actually got some pretty cool character moments too. And I can't wait to see how Season 3 starts up. Which, by the way, Season 3 will not have the same showrunner, apparently. They just announced, I think it was like a month ago, that actually that showrunner for Season 1 and 2 is leaving. And Season 3 will have a different showrunner. So, curious to see how that's going to play out. And, yeah, State of Plays. Far State of Plays went this year. They were pretty mid. Listen, man. Besides the Wolverine showing up at that last one, I'm gonna be honest. This was the year where I was just kind of like more watching the clips online than watching the streams themselves. Because like the State of Plays, I never go into a State of Play expecting big announcements unless it's heavily rumored. And I just feel like this was the year that they just kind of missed their opportunities sometimes. I mean, literally, 30th anniversary of God of War controller, but can't give us like a God of War 1 original port to like the PlayStation Plus collection. Couldn't do that. Or God of War 2, or hell, even like, you know, the PSP titles. You couldn't do that, Sony. No, but you give me a fucking white controller, the ash looking controller with a red stripe on it. Oh, thank you, Sony. Just then of course they announced fucking speakers and a screen at their fucking show, their State of Plays, which is like, okay. By the way, still announcing controllers at these things too, and it's just like, this was just it was off. It was off, but I saw worse. I saw worse around the industry, and I will say next year is shaping up to be better. My most anticipated game for next year is it GTA 6. It's freaking obviously going to be Marvel's Wolverine, because I think it's going to be refreshing to see Insomniac pull away from Spider-Man for a bit and go do something with Wolverine. I'm also curious like what the collector's edition is going to be. They tend to do collector's edition with their big AAA games. And I want to see how things are going to play out for also the rest of the calendar, because we also have Soros coming out this next year, very early next year, which is surprising. And we don't have a pre-order up yet for that. That's got me a little concerned. Obviously, we have Marathon coming up. Marathon is just something that's going to exist, and I'm not excited for that. I'm not. It's just like, I don't think I know anyone that's excited for Marathon, and that game's going to be out sometime next year. And just like, that game is the Concord 2.0. Just like, Sony just pull away from this live service shit now before it drowns you even further. But then, of course, you have Marvel Token Soul. So then again, I can't say this is actually a bad thing, because while this isn't a first-party studio that's making it, it's being made by the same developers that did Dragon Ball Fighter Z. I forget their name. I think it's Arcworks, something like that. Either way, they're making this game. Sony helped apparently put this deal together for them to be able to use Marvel characters. So I'm glad to see Sony kind of taking on more of the publisher role. And this is going to be a first-party, not really a first-party game, but like, you know, a Sony studio game, whatever the kind of label they have under it. And yes, it will be available on PlayStation and PC, more likely day and date. Yeah, again, also another game we have no information on as far as the release date goes. But, you know, at the same time, you know, they just announced a closed other beta. So we'll have to wait and see. At the end of the day, I think that game has a lot of hype for it, because it's a Marvel fighting game that's not Marvel vs. Capcom. And I think the fighting game community is looking for something that's new while being so familiar. So yeah, that's my thoughts on PlayStation in 2025. If there's something I missed, tell me in the comment section below. I also briefly talked about my thoughts about the future and where this next year is going. Overall, like I said, I think Sony had a better 2025 than the other ones. I think everyone else kind of fumbled a lot. While Sony was fumbling a bit, they did bounce back and recover. And while the terms of, how many games they put out was very little, at the same time, I'd rather the quality be at that level that they were at than what we see from Microsoft and freaking Nintendo, which we'll get into that when we talk about them. So until next time, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that YouTube Ireland BS. This is that PlayStation Gamer sign out. Peace.